Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Taproom Table, a Brewlog production.
Yes, indeed.
I'm Andrew Hoyle.
I'm Brandon Bickler.
And tonight, we have quite a few beer.
Well, we were feeling in the spirit because, it's fall.
It is fall.
It's October.
October.
And you know what that means?
Beer.
Beer. Lots of good beer. We got Oktoberfest beer. We even got a pumpkin beer. And then we got two others that we're just super into and we're super curious about. And so you guys are going to have a full-on episode of 4 different types of beer from 4 different breweries that we're super excited to try.
Wow.
Look at that. Oh, that's some good stuff.
It's not going to focus. Come on, focus.
There we go. There we go.
So the big can that I just showed you, and that one is...
that one's a little hard to read.
That's the one that I'm really super excited.
Yeah. This one's going to be our last one, by the way.
Cover your face. Stupid autofocus. But yeah, the big one is from Dogfish Head Brewing, and it's a Punkin Ale.
Oh,
right?
Punkin.
Yeah, so it's a Punkin Ale. The reason it's in a great big can like that is because I went down to Special Brews, which is a local bottle shop in Linwood, Washington. Mm-hmm. And between Special Brews, Norm's Market, Tavor, none of which sponsor me, they're just awesome places. There's another one here in Marysville called the Republic Bottle Shop.
I saw that, and actually when I was looking around for beer for this episode, that one popped up on my Google search. I ended up going to a different one in Everett called the Grape and Grain.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Every time I hear that, I always want to say the Grapes of Wrath, but I know that's not even close to right.
It's the Grape and Grain. Super cool. It's actually a newer bottle shop, actually. Right. And so they don't really have much as far as international beers. They pretty much solely concentrate on local domestic craft beer.
And the Grape and Grain is actually where the Lost Abbey... What was that one? Oh, Judgment Day.
That's yeah.
That was acquired at the Grape and Grain. And so before we get into the beer, I just kind of wanted to touch a little bit about bottle shops. So if you're up here in the Northwest, we just named off a handful,
4 or 5.
But I know there's like Toggle's Bottle Shop in Everett. There
Toggle's.
was one that used to be called the Malton Vine?
There was one in Redmond that was called Malton Vine. They actually just recently shut down because
which is unfortunate.
I don't think they were able to recover from the pandemic, unfortunately. But there was Malton Vine. I know Seattle has a bunch. Seattle's got a bunch that I saw as well. Yeah. There's bottle shops all over the place. I mean, and you still got the big ones, Total Wine and More.
Yeah.
You still got the big kind of like Walmart style, I guess, bottle shops.
So, and the reason I wanted to touch on that, and it's a good thing that you brought up Total Wine and More, and I think Bevmo. Do we have a Bevmo right here? Somewhere?
I
maybe
believe so.
But there's
I'm sure we do.
Yeah, there's bigger bottle shops.
There are large
where you can pick up wine, spirits, beer, of all different varieties and all different kinds. The reason I wanted to touch on that is because if you're interested in trying some of the beers that we have, best place to try and go find them. If you I suggest that you sign up for Tavor. If you want to just sign up for Tavor, you don't even have to use the code that we have provided in the description. You can just provide your information and you can sign up for Tavor. And it's awesome because Tavor specifically caters to the craft brewing industry.
Yeah.
They do not sell anything. They do their due diligence in investigating the breweries and making sure that they are an independent craft brewer. And a real good way to figure out if it is a true independent craft brewer is, come on, stupid thing, is it will have that symbol right there. Upside down bottle, and it'll say independent on it. So that is the symbol for the Brewers Association, Independent Craft Brewers. And like Tavor does an awesome job at that, but a lot of bottle shops are awesome for that too. We live in the Northwest. We live up here in Washington. We have well, God, we have an ungodly amount of bottle shops.
Yeah.
All the way up and down. I know there's quite a few good ones. Well, I don't know about anymore. I know there used to be quite a few good ones over in Spokane as well.
Yes.
So even over on the east side, the reason for that is because we pretty much live in, Hop Valley Central,
and
which is the Yakima Valley. And so we produce a lot of beer up here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Yakima Valley is the second largest producer of hops in the world.
Right.
They're second only to Germany. So,
Right.
yeah, when you got that kind of an abundance of a major ingredient for making beer, then it would make sense that.
Yeah. And I know it's all the way down the West Coast. I know that there's bottle shops. I've seen them in Texas. I've seen them.
You can
I haven't traveled a lot. I know. But I know like on the East Coast, they have, there's a bottle shop. I think it's called a Brew Through. And it's kind of like a McDonald's for beer.
Yeah.
And,
it's got
you
like
literally just drive up to a window. You're like, I want to try this, and they go, oh, okay, bring it all up, and here you go.
Yeah, I know Tennessee. I mean, my mom's side of the family comes from Tennessee, and like I never thought of them as being really huge in craft beer, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, for them it was mainly a lot of the mainstream stuff, Miller Coors, Anheuser-Busch, that sort of stuff. But
right.
I mean, obviously moonshine and wine was like their big thing.
Moonshine and wine.
But apparently, I just recently talked to my uncle, and he's like, yeah, they got bottle shops here, and like the craft beer industry in the South is actually starting to take off.
Oh yeah,
really big. So
yeah. So last year, I can touch on that a little bit as well. Last year, I was in a English class, and I promise I will get around to explaining why I'm talking about an English class. And while I was doing the English class, I specifically made sure, or I didn't make sure, I wanted to do all of my papers that I had to do, all my essays, everything on craft brewing, like sources.
What a glorious topic.
I know. I try. But and like last year is when I was really, really, going hot and heavy in finding out all the research that I could possibly find out, finding out the different qualities of beer and all that stuff. And so while I was already researching that, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just take that and I'll just put it for this research paper or, like a argumentative paper or whatever.
Right.
And so, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like the craft brewing industry has, it's taken a dip because of 2020.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's going to come back stronger.
Oh yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. And, I'm hoping that the ones that had to fold will be able to have a chance to come back.
And that actually does happen, believe it or not, especially, like I'll give an example. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, I think, Elysian Brewing was, big brewery up here in Washington State. Elysian sold to a big beer company. Yeah. And the three owners, they each got a cut. Well, one of them went down, I think, to Oregon, and he started up his own craft beer or craft brewery down there. So he started up another one, and that happens a lot,
right?
I mean, with all the craft breweries around I've seen it firsthand where there are guys that I worked with that left and started up their own craft breweries, or they became head brewers at other craft breweries.
Right.
And, they kind of make their way, they come up with their own ideas, their own recipes and stuff like that. And then they go off and they start their own craft breweries. So in many ways, and the thing is you're never going to find a craft brewery that doesn't promote that of its employees.
Oh yeah.
And that's something like, especially when you're talking in the world of business, so many people out there are like, oh, you're not allowed to go work for the competition, or you're not allowed to become our competition. In the craft beer industry, they kind of have this more like, hey man, you did a lot of good work for us. We hope you all the best. That being said, bring it on. They love the competition, but it's like a friendly competition.
And that's what it is. It's a friendly competition amongst artists.
Exactly.
Because, one brewery is going to train that person. We'll take you for example.
Yeah.
Your brewery has trained you. okay, well, I've done this and I've figured this out and all that stuff. So if you chose to go and, start your own brewery or whatever,
Yep.
then obviously you're not going to be able to take that exact recipe and duplicate it because that's proprietary to the brewery.
Yeah. That is the big thing. You don't want to go
stealing.
Yeah.
And, but you're, if you said, well, I kind of want to do more like brown ales.
Right.
Or, or English, style
English ales.
Whatever it may be, like you guys don't really do that, but you've kind of given me the backbone to jump off into my own little thing and compete with you. But it might be a direct
competition, or it might be something a little different.
Exactly.
And really, in the end, too, it's like, and I know the owners of the brewery that I work at, those guys, they take so much pride when they look out and they see other craft breweries that are owned or or that are owned by someone that used to work at their brewery, or when they see a head brewer that's totally succeeding for another brewery that used to work there. They don't look at it as, damn, missed opportunity. No, they actually look at it as a sense of pride because they helped to build that person to where they are. And they actually look at, yes, it's competition, but it's the friendly competition. And I'm telling you right now, brewers, if you're a brewer and you go to another brewery, that other brewery will bend over backwards. They want you to try their beer. They will give you free tastings and stuff like that. They'll give you a tour of their brewery because they want to show off where they're at and what they're proud of, and maybe bounce ideas off you or something like that. And you do the same for them because, again, it's that friendly competition. It's really weird. Like, there's this overabundance of craft breweries on the West Coast, but as big as it is, it's also a very, very small world. You would be amazed at how many owners and head brewers have worked at other breweries, for other brewers and stuff like that, and learned so much. And you get a sense of pride from that. You really, and it's that, again, I think you said it right, that artistic sort of competition where you mentor someone.
It's almost like family competition.
It is.
Because really, when you look at, if you're looking from the outside in at the craft brewing industry, it's hard not to see family.
Yeah.
Like everybody, it doesn't matter if you're a brewer, it doesn't matter if you're a brewery owner, it doesn't matter if you're just somebody who enjoys the craft brewing industry. That was one of the things that absolutely warmed my heart, like right off the bat, is going into a brewery or tap room and just how friendly everybody is, and like
Norm, like from Cheers,
exactly, and just like I've had so many bad experiences with other things where like you come in as a novice and they're like noob,
and it's
like you get hazed. You don't get that.
I
mean, granted, you're gonna have your beer snobs.
They do exist,
but typically, if you go into a brewery and you're brand new, and you say, hey, I don't really know much about beer. Could you kind of give me some, some suggestions? Like, what would you suggest that I try?
It's like, hey,
and like you kind of have to have a little bit of experience in knowing, like, well, do you like IPAs or do you like lagers? Do you like pilsners? Do you like reds? Do you like stouts? Like, what kind of flavor profiles do you typically lean towards? And like you can sometimes kind of associate that to like food. Like, well, do you like sweets or do you like more of like savory stuff? And but they'll be able to guide you.
Well, that's why
they'll be able to actually give you suggestions and not make you feel like, oh God, okay, just try the IPA.
Yeah. Well, that's why bottle shops are so awesome. You go there and they'll be like, well, I'm looking to buy, you could walk in and be a total novice about it, be like, I don't really know what I want, all this sort of stuff. And they'll immediately be like, well, are you into darker beers, lighter beers? Do you like them fruity? Do you like them sweet? Do you like them a little bit more roasty? Smoky? Like, what are you looking like? And they'll ask you, like, what do you typically eat? What do you typically drink when it comes?
Are you going to be eating anything with what you're drinking?
Yeah. Are you going to be pairing it with anything, And that's why, like, bottle shop employees typically are very, very knowledgeable when it comes to beer, especially with craft beer, and they have such a wide variety. I mean, they're not going to be like, oh, then you got to, this is the one beer that's going to do it. They'll probably give you about 3 or 4 choices.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's actually what I was going to say is, like when I was starting the brew venture, when I was starting the brew log and everything, like the first place I went to was Norm's.
Yeah.
And I walked in and it was just like the gates of beer heaven opened.
Norm's is such a great place.
And then, I mean, there's just thousands of beer just within their coolers and just on their racks and everything. And it's like, wow. And that it was really eye-opening,
right,
for multiple, experiences. And one of the experiences was the fact of like, there's this many, and like, I know that's not all of the beer choices that are out there, but there's this many choices that I have for all the different styles of beer. And then just how nice they were was awesome as well. Cause like I had went in late at night. I'd gone in after work. I work second shift. So I got off at about like 11 or something like that.
Super late.
And so I drove 11 PM and I drove to Norm's and I went in there and I'm like, hey, I'm kind of new to the whole beer world. Like I would like a couple of selections of like, do you have any suggestions for like a lager, a pilsner, a stout, a porter, a lambic. Well, at that time I didn't know what a lambic was, but I was like, can you just give me like a 6-pack of just like what you would suggest? And they're like, oh, okay. And like first question, they're like, well, do you want like domestic or international?
Yeah.
And I was like,
yes.
They're like, okay, well, we answered our own question there. I was like, thanks. And like, so they hooked me up with a Weihenstephaner, which you had already given me. And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, yeah, my buddy, he had talked about this one. And so, and it was cool to see, like, they had like 4 or 6 different varieties of Weihenstephaner.
Yeah. From that
and
one
then,
brewery.
Like Warsteiner and like all these different Japanese and Asian or Japanese and German and all over the world, international, all over the world beers. And then, and so they grabbed like 2 or something like that. I think I got a Warsteiner and then I got a Weihenstephaner. And then they walked me over to the other cabinet. And they're like, oh yeah, this is a really good lager, and this is a really good stout, and this one is from Black Raven, and it was the Coco Jones. And
Jones.
And they're like, we're gonna get you this one too. And so they gave me the Kitty Cat Blues. And they're like, do you like blueberry muffins? I'm like, yeah.
And they're like, then you're gonna love this.
And he's like, oh, okay. So that's when he grabbed the Kitty Cat Blues and he's like, shoves it in there, and he's like, you'll like that one. And he's like, if you like the Mounds bars or the Almond Joys, he's like, you'll like the Coco Jones. I'm like, cool. And it's like they just started packing. I think I walked out with like 8 different kinds of beer, and it was great. And I was like, oh, cool. And that's where I really started the jumping off point for the brew log and for the brew venture and everything. Yep. And then like as those dwindled down, I was like, oh crap, I need more beer. And so and then Todd is the one that actually told me about special brews. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. And that one was close to work. So I went into special brews and I did the same thing. I was like, hey, can you give me suggestions? I do this I do this Facebook video thing, and I'm trying different beers and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, that sounds awesome. And I was like, yeah, I'm trying to do, craft breweries specifically. And they're like, well, kind of came to the right place.
That's all we do.
I was like, cool.
That's all we do.
And like they sent me home with like a box of like 14, something like that. Like I spent an ungodly amount of money that day.
It's one thing to point out too, though, is it's like, as far as the bottle shops are concerned, it depends. Again, they will have almost anything that you want. Like for instance, I went to Grape and Grain earlier today. Now they're more, like I said, more local craft beer. Yep. West Coast, Washington State, that sort of thing. So they don't necessarily have a great international They do have some, because like I went and bought myself a 6-pack of Weihenstephaner myself.
Yeah.
And
he brought it over.
And I brought it over. And I got, they got Eyinger, and they got, they do have some imported stuff, but it's not their big thing. They do have some international beer, but it's not their mainstay.
With being so new, I mean, that's not surprising. And that's the thing, it's because so new. They have to start somewhere, and you got to start local for the most part.
I remember walking into Malt and Vine when they were still around. When they were in Redmond, I would walk in and they would have coolers, and they literally would have one cooler would be like Thailand, and it was nothing but Thai beer.
Yeah.
Another one would be like Japan, and they'd have like 2 that was like for strictly Japanese beers, and then you would have German, and they'd have like 20. But they would have like 2 that are German. They would have like 2 or 3 that are Belgian. They would have Mexican. From all around the world. So it's like for them, and they still did some local stuff, but for them, a lot of it was more international. So depending on the bottle, the bottle shop that you go to, might determine like where they specialize in. Right. International, local. Right. Sometimes they do kind of an even mix of both.
Yeah.
And actually not only that, but if you walk in, like if you are talking, like if you're watching one of our videos or something like that, or listening to us, and we mention a beer and you're like, God, that sounds really freaking good, and you go to your local bottle shop and they don't have that beer that you're looking for, you can ask them and they could actually order it for you,
right,
and have it delivered.
Caveat to that, right now,
it's a little hard right
distribution, now. So we will let you know. We will warn you.
Distribution.
You can do that. you can absolutely do that. You can go to Special Brews. You can go to Norm's. You can go to Total Wine and More.
Yep, all of them.
Bevmo, anything like that. And typically they will, let you, make an order and stuff like that. Some of them have like a minimum, so you have to order like a case or something like that.
Yeah.
But other times, other times they'll just let you order. Mm-hmm. And then you just wait for the distribution to get it to the store, and then they call you up and they say, hey, your beer's here, and you go down there and then you're happy. Yeah. But right now distribution is horrible.
It's a bitch.
It is. There's so much going on, and we won't get into it, but we just want to warn you that like
distribution,
you can do that, but just know that the bottle shop or wherever might say, okay, well, we'll see what we can do, but it might not be a possibility.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, like, I went into the bottle shop, and I literally looked at the guy and I said, hey, I was like, I'm looking for an Oktoberfest beer. I'm looking for a really good Oktoberfest beer. Yeah. And he came over and he's like, well, we, at this point in time, because they're still small, they're still growing. He pointed out 2 of them, and one of them was this one, which I didn't even know existed.
Yeah,
because I had actually not heard of this brewery, and they're out of Olympia.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you want to get into it? I mean, let's get into it and explore some of the greatness that we found.
I wanted to kind of build the craft brewing industry a little bit more, give some people some more information on where you can get some of the stuff, the tasty brews that we try.
Oh yeah, no, I hear you.
So let's dive into this and have a good time. So
this first one is obviously the Oktoberfest beer that comes from Olympia, from a brewery called Headless Mumby Brewing Company. And I think you got some info on them.
I do. I got all kinds of info. So this is from their website, and I will put the description below, as always. But it's headlessmumbybrewing.com. And so as we scroll down here, I'm going to assume those are probably the founders. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to read the about. So because they have the mission and they have the process and all that. But if you're interested in reading more, either you can read ahead of me or you can go to the website and read up on Headless Mumby. Co-founder Keith and Alex had named their respective home breweries Headless and Mumby. Headless is a salute to the song Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner by Warren Zevon, of whom Keith is a rabid fan. Mumby is a reference to a defunct logging and shingle mill from the early 1900s, which operated in the area Alex now lives. I actually know about Mumby.
Yeah.
It's just, Lived here for 34 years. Once Keith and Alex had made the fateful decision to join forces and open a brewery, they were faced with the daunting task of naming it. They decided that what better way to represent a truly collaborative effort than to unite the names of their hometown or home breweries. I can never read. And so it was.
English degree.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just because I took the class doesn't mean I have the degree. Combined, the name Headless Mumby is a slight nod to the Pacific Northwest lumbermen from days past who often had to organize and strike against greedy corporate heads. Bastards. Or whatever. So, yeah, there's a little bit on Headless Mumby there. And so, yeah, we'll pop over now. We couldn't find from Headless Mumby the overview, or sorry, we couldn't find on their website about the Oktoberfest beer.
Luckily,
so yeah,
there are other sources.
Right, we went to the beer Google as always, which is Untapped.
Oh yeah,
and on here, whoops, I hit a button.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. I think we're good. All right. Autumn in a glass. This traditional Oktoberfest Marzen has more malt richness and body than a fest beer. Dark copper amber in color with a distinctive bready, toasty maltness. So, yeah, there you go. Short, sweet, to the point. It is 6% ABV, no IBUs listed. ABV, of course, alcohol by volume, IBUs, international bittering units. Being a Oktoberfest or a Marzen, we're thinking this is probably going to be fairly light in the bitterness. I don't really expect this to have much bitter taste to it.
I mean, the whole point of an Oktoberfest beer too. I mean, Oktoberfest, for those that don't understand, Oktoberfest is basically a Bavarian tradition of celebrating the harvest. You know, and so what it is a lot of their malt comes from the springtime. You know, it comes out of the spring, and that's why the name, Märzen or Marzen comes from, that's literally, it means March, because that's when a lot of these get brewed, is in March. And there we go. And so really this is it's not so much a celebration of like the hoppiness or anything like that. It's more a celebration of the malt itself. Yeah. You know, and you're typically for a Märzen or an Oktoberfest beer, it's going to be between about 5 and 6%. It's not going to be too heavy or anything like that. It is typically going to be somewhere between kind of a goldish to a kind of a coppery red sort of color, like we've got right here.
And I believe I read before, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please comment below. But I read that the reason that it's a lower ABV is typically so that they could kind of drink more. And because it's more along the lines of almost like a lager. Yeah, well, so yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, that's why, like, for instance, they brew it in March, hence the name Märzen, and then they use the summertime to ferment it, to lager it, because lagering is a process in the brewing process. In brewing, that it takes months, where you lager it at a particular temperature. It works very well, especially during the summertime. So it'll take months. To ferment a beer till it's perfect. And so now to touch a little bit more on a lager, lagers are colder. Right? Yeah, they ferment at a colder temperature, probably somewhere around. I've seen them as low as 50 or so degrees to 60s, roughly. So they ferment at a colder, more like room temperature sort of deal. And the reason for that is because of lager yeast. Lager yeast in particular. Yeast is a very finicky thing. Yes. Yeast, in order to get it to work, to do its thing, for yeast to be happiest, for it to actually start the fermentation process where it eats the sugars and, farts CO2 and poops out alcohol. It has to be. Then we drink it. It has to be at a particular temperature, and different yeast works different ways. Right. And so you have to make sure you understand the temperature based upon that. For instance, lager yeast needs to be a little bit cooler for it to be happiest. Right. And so that's why lagers will actually,
In fact, some craft breweries typically, honestly, a little trade secret, a lot of craft breweries try not to do too many lagers because they take so long.
Right. Yeah.
And
there's more involved in doing it.
It takes a long time. It takes up tank space, especially if you're trying to pump out beer. It's not lagering is not something that you can do quickly.
Right.
It takes time. And so that's where, that's where lagers come from, is that you need to do it at a lower temperature. It takes it a little bit longer to do to get the preferred, flavor and everything that you want from the beer. But, Oktoberfest beers are more a celebration of the malt. Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. And smelling that. And so there's a color on that.
Oh, that's
my face.
That's a nice...
Come on. Focus. There we go.
Focus on the beer.
Yeah. It's pretty.
Look at it's actually, if you look at it and wave your fingers behind it, you can kind of see your fingers. I mean, there's still a little bit of haziness there, but not too much.
Actually, I was pretty surprised about that. The fact that it wasn't as clear as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, lagers typically, I think people tend to go for more a more clear sort of vision on it and everything. But it smells delicious. I'm getting like banana.
So I'm not getting any banana.
No,
but typically I don't.
Banana's one of those
unless it's
extremely
unless it's a really heavy banana ingredient.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I can just never pick up that banana-y smell from those yeast.
Yeah.
Like Weihenstephaner, their German yeast.
Has a
I can never smell the banana.
Yeah, and a lot of lager yeast or German yeast will typically have kind of a banana, kind of banana smell to it, or fruity, citrusy maybe.
Now I do get a very yeast smell from this, little malty smell to it from it as well.
Almost a little sour maybe.
I was going to say a little tiny bit of sour.
Yeah.
Almost lambic-esque.
And look at that carbonation. You can actually see the bubbles popping off on top of it. Because these lagers, again, typically you're going to have a higher carbonation level as well on these.
Yeah, I can make it go crazy and just kind of tap it and just go. Brrr.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And when I first poured it, I almost got a very bread-like smell.
Yeah, so that's the malt coming out. That's that biscuity sort of aroma that you're going to get.
Yeah. And it was very obvious that it came from the head.
Yes.
Because as soon as the head disappeared, I lost it.
Well, that's why the head...
I lost most of it.
That's why, people always want to sit there and try and cut back on the head when they're pouring beer. Head is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
It actually tells you a lot about the character of the beer that you're about to drink. Aroma, even flavor to a certain extent,
Well, and if the beer is, in some cases, is still good.
Yes.
Because a beer like this, where there needs to be carbonation to it, if you pour it in... and it's supposed to have carbonation to it. It's supposed to have head to it. And it's just... yeah. It's like,
then it's
are you
flat.
really getting the best experience that you're supposed to get with the beer? Probably not.
Exactly.
But, yeah. So, I raise my glass. And a cheers to the brew venture of finding new brews, to good friends, and to easing the stresses of life away. Cheers to Oktoberfest.
To Oktoberfest.
Clanky. Ooh, yeah. Yep. That's an Oktoberfest beer for sure.
That is 100% Oktoberfest. Because again, it's got that. I'm getting the caramely sweetness out of it, and which is phenomenal.
I'm getting grain.
Yeah,
I'm definitely getting that malt
on the back end. I am getting the biscuitiness, the malt. Mm-hmm. I'm getting the caramelness, which is also the malt. Real celebration on that.
And you know what I found in this?
Huh?
I'm actually tasting a little bit of that sour.
Mm-hmm.
Almost, like I said, almost like a lambic-esque sour.
Yeah.
So what I mean by lambic-esque sour, if you've never had a lambic, they're not like your traditional sours.
No.
They are technically they are the traditional sour.
They are the original.
They're the OG sour, but they're not like a sour that you would get today. That are kind of like the new age sour.
The new age sours where
there's more body to them.
Yeah.
As opposed to just flat out sour.
Mm-hmm.
I found I was drinking the Ages, which is a lambic, and I found that it was more cider sour.
Yeah.
So more like a slightly over fermented sour.
Yeah.
And there was just more body to it. There was more heft to it, more complexity to it. For that one, I mean, the ages has so much complexity because it has like taste of white pepper and pear and all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
It was phenomenal. If I find it, I'm buying a whole case.
You know what else I'm really liking about this, by the way? The crispness. Like, you get a nice kind of, not too sharp, but a nice crispness.
I think that's kind of what is being associated for me on with that sour.
Yeah.
Because it does. It has just a hint of a crispness.
Yeah.
Of a bite. Just like right. It's not enough to really like jump out at you, but it's just enough to where that's nice.
It's not a punch in the face, you know. Like, you know, it's not like, for instance, you're drinking like a sparkled wine or something where the bubbliness and the crispness kind of punches you in the face. Yeah. No, this one is much a phenomenal smoother.
Is it absolutely phenomenal beer?
Man, these guys did awesome. And this is a brewery that, by the way, their whole thing, I mean, they have it on their can and on their website. It says drink local, drink lager. And and like I said, you know, it's really interesting because, like I said, most craft beers, especially on the West Coast, you're not going to find too many of them doing lagers because they're so time consuming and space consuming because they take up tank space. So to have a brewery that specializes in lagers is phenomenal. I mean,
that's cool.
That picture right there, it says Lagerheads, you know, of the owners there. Look at that, Lagerheads. Yeah, they specialize in lagers, and if you look at their list of beers, they got some good stuff there too that just looks really interesting.
Yeah, this is definitely one that I would check out.
I would actually have a couple of these.
Yeah,
I would totally have a couple of these.
Yeah, like I said, this is definitely what you would think of for an Oktoberfest beer.
Oh yeah, you know,
because I could see myself sitting in Leavenworth or at home, and you know, maybe having 2-3 of these.
Yep.
You know, if you're with me, I definitely see finishing off a 6-pack.
Honestly, this is something like if you go to, like if we were to go to Leavenworth, by the way, for those that aren't familiar with Washington State, Leavenworth is a Bavarian village. It's literally a town.
And you should know it.
It's literally a town up in the mountains. If you go east on Highway 2, a couple hours, it is a Bavarian-based, like designed architecture, Bavarian architecture town. It's basically a tourist trap.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but it is it's a Bavarian themed town.
Yeah.
The whole town is Bavarian themed, from the architecture to the breweries to the events that they hold, everything.
And it's a great place for wine tasting, beer tasting,
and some of the best German food I've ever had.
Oh,
I say this like I mentioned before, I have not been a world traveler, so I haven't been to Germany, but
yeah,
my grandma is very much German, and her mother, my great grandma, was from Germany.
Oh, it's like born and raised in Germany,
and that's where I have my experience with German food.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you're talking
legit like old Spatzel, and like Bavarian sausages,
the different types of Wurst.
Oh God, see now I'm just making myself hungry.
Right.
But where I was going with this is, there is a restaurant in Leavenworth called Andrea Keller's.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, phenomenal. Some of the best. You know, I can't downplay my grandma and my great grandma's food. Like, they'll probably hunt me down and, you know, slap me with lederhosen or something. But then I might be into it. And then so moving on. But yeah, they have some of the absolute best food. Like great big pork chops and like whole chicken and just like various different kinds of Bavarian sausage. Like, yes, there is more than bratwurst.
There's Knockwurst, there's Jägerwurst.
Oh yeah, there's at least from what I can think of, there's at least 8
Oh yeah, there's a whole lot of different, and it's not just necessarily sausage neither. I mean, they're just all sorts of fun with food and everything. It's delicious. But this is honestly a beer that, like, if you and I went to Leavenworth and we went to local pub or something like that there and sat down to have it, I would actually get a picture of this.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
This is one of those. It's a great. I feel like this is a great beer for socializing.
Yeah.
With your friends, with your buddies. You get a couple pictures for the table. You guys just go around telling stories.
And
with
like
some,
I typically
with some pretzel and cheese, you know.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was gonna go into. Like I don't normally suggest like what I would pair food wise, because in all honesty, like my cultural background is not, or culinary. It's not cultural. My culinary background is not that in depth.
Right.
But with this beer specifically, I could tell you, I could see myself having a bratwurst. I could see myself having a pretzel and cheese. I could see myself having spatzel and just so much German food.
You okay there?
I'm hungry. I'm already hungry. We're only one beer in.
Right. No, this is a great beer. I would get a picture of this and share it with the buddies.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And just sit around and bullshit and tell stories and jokes and stuff. And this is a great social beer. I think.
God, yeah.
This is a great social beer.
Yeah. So I don't want to shorten this, but
we got 3 more beers to go
we
through.
Have 4.
No, we got 1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay. See, I'm already getting hit. It's only 6%. This is not going to be good.
So let's go ahead. We'll move the Oktoberfest to the side. We'll move on to our next one.
Yeah. So our next one here is from Hopworks. It is called Great Gourds of Fire. I love the names of craft beers sometimes.
Goodness gracious.
So if you want to show that one real quick.
I will.
Hide your face.
Oh, I got to rotate the can properly too.
Do it. Oh, there we go. It's focused. Good job. Great Gourds of Fire.
Okay, Great Gourds of Fire.
All right, we'll hop on over to about Hopworks here. And I'll scroll down. So we create exceptional beer and food with sustainable business practices that protect our planet and support our community. With locally sourced organic and salmon-safe hops, our 20-barrel brewery produces 10,000 barrels of beer per year for our 2 brew pubs, Airport Pub, and for distribution throughout Cascadia and beyond. Our pub serves fresh food in sustainably built and operated buildings with a relaxed, family-friendly atmosphere. From composting to salvaged materials and previous pavers, to hand dryers, we've made every effort to protect our planet with thoughtful alternatives to the status quo. Hopworks is family-owned and operated, employing 75-plus people in the Pacific Northwest. We serve our neighborhoods through donations, profit sharing, and volunteering with local nonprofits. We're also the first certified B Corporation brewery in the Pacific Northwest, and our Powell Brewery was the first Salmon Safe certified brewery in the world. Wow, I'm surprised I got through Salmon Safe certified without.
I'm surprised you did that twice.
Yeah,
that's a tongue twister and a half.
Yay me!
No, Hopworks is a great brewery. They're a great brewery, I believe, out of Portland, Oregon.
They didn't say.
Oh, Hopworks Urban Brewery, Portland, Oregon.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So it's out of Portland, Oregon. They're a great brewery. Obviously, like you saw, very much into being ecological,
economical. No,
ecological. Where they care about the planet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they very much into being ecological. They do a lot of good stuff. Great brewery. They have other great beers as well. In fact, I think you've probably had a couple.
Yeah. So Tavor a while back had a couple, and I don't remember which one it was, but I know I've had some from Hopworks before, and it was a phenomenal beer back then too. Mm-hmm. So we'll bounce over and we'll talk about the Great Gourds of Fire here.
Oh yeah.
So all organic roasted pumpkin from Bella Organic Farm send good vibes along with cinnamon, ancho chilies, clove, and cardamom. Hops is Tatninger, malt 2-row Munich C60, C120, black malt. Flavors, roasted pumpkins and spices. ABV is 6.5% and IBU 21. So this is also another thing that I actually enjoy about craft breweries. Some of them that kind of have they have their foothold, and they've started to kind of really build themselves more and more and more, they'll provide you with information like this. They'll provide you with the hops, the malt, flavors, ABVs, IBUs, all that stuff. So when you go and you go to like hopworksbeer.com, which is Hopworks website, they will provide that information with you. And I mean, it's nothing that's going to really change. Well, it might, but for the most part, I don't think it would really change your experience with the beer.
No, I would actually think
for beer nerds like us,
it kind of enhances it.
Yeah,
because,
it's
like,
nice.
That's the thing too, because like just looking at it, I mean, you were talking about the malt, for instance, and the one thing to keep in mind about like pumpkin beers too is pumpkin beers traditionally are not going to be very hoppy,
right?
Because again, the pumpkin beer is kind of like the Oktoberfest. It's a celebration of the malt, but it's more a celebration of the spices and how you're able to get in there. And when you're making a pumpkin beer, bro, there are so many ways to make a pumpkin beer. Typically, you're talking about adding spices and stuff during the fermentation process, but I've heard of people that will, like, kind of like a cask, where they'll actually put the spices directly in the keg. And then deliver it that way. And so you'll really get that way. Some people have taken it to where they take, in fact, some people, what they'll do is they'll actually put the beer inside pumpkin husks. And they will let it ferment inside a pumpkin.
Yeah.
You know, there's, you know, you can dice pumpkin. Sometimes you can even use like pumpkin oil, like extract, like oil.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff like that.
And then you're getting a real strong pumpkin taste.
And you're doing all this. It depends on, again, what you want from your pumpkin ale. And, you know I've talked a lot of smack about pumpkin beers. You know, it's not that I don't appreciate them.
If you've listened to previous episodes of the Taproom Table, you'll know how much Brandon loves his pumpkin beer.
All right. I mean, just for reference, for anyone that's new, I have said that the pumpkin beer is the basic bitch of beers. Because it's one of those things, again, like every brewery does it because it's a seasonal thing. It's fall. Everyone's wanting pumpkin. They get the pumpkin spice lattes. They want pumpkin beer.
Right.
And I got a buddy. Every year around September, October timeframe, he gets super excited because pumpkin beer finally hits the shelves.
Right.
And so he goes out and he buys it and he loves it and everything. But it's not that I hate pumpkin beer.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it's one of those things. It's in such abundance around here to where I'm just kind of like, really? That's what you went with? A pumpkin beer? Okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah, and definitely people love their pumpkin beer. Because when I was, so I actually went to I went to Special Brews today to go pick this one up. And I had asked them, I was like, hey, you guys have any pumpkin ales? And he's like, bro, we're like sold out of pumpkin ale. Like, luckily, we have one that's on tap. And he's like, but you better hurry up and get in here because even that's probably going to be running low here soon. And I was like, holy crap. Okay. Well, you know, it is, October 16th. So, we're halfway through.
That was
the month.
I went in and I was asking the guy at Grape and Grain, I was like, hey, just out of curiosity, you guys got any pumpkin beers? He goes, maybe.
Maybe.
I'm like, what do you mean maybe? He goes, they're kind of a hot ticket item right now. I'm like, no, I get that.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, they're popular. And so people are going to buy them and drink them because, again, they are good. But I don't know. It's just they're a dime a dozen to me. And I'm just like, they're the basic bitch of beers. And but I can appreciate the goodness and the skill it takes to make a good, because anyone can make a pumpkin beer, but to make it good, that's a different story.
Like what's crazy to me is, so what I noticed is like when I poured this into the glass, like look how long the head is sticking around.
Oh, see, mine kind of dissipated, but
I think that's because you poured and then
I poured and then I kind of poured a little bit more. This one's also super clear, by the way, if you look at it. Try not to hold it up to the light though, just in case. Nothing wrong with that. It's just, sometimes you'll get some of the seasoning and spices will be floating around in there or something like that, or pumpkin if you're.
But I mean,
it's this one's really clear though. This one's. Do I
there we go.
My pen?
Yeah. So there's a color on that one. But I mean, if you know that, like, that's kind of a nice thing about watching this show is, and other shows as well. I've heard it and I've seen it from a couple other YouTube channels, and we all talk about like, you might find sediment in your beer. That's okay.
It's okay.
Don't
it's
freak
okay.
out.
If you see
It's
some
not a
floating
bad
in your
beer.
beer, it's not bad. It's okay.
Yeah. So, and like Brandon said, like in this beer, you might find some of those spices and
the
whatever it may
pumpkin and
be,
stuff floating in it, and that's
it's
okay.
because it's that type of beer. So
Yeah.
you might find some stuff.
And
another one would be like a lambic.
A lambic would be another one.
Very typically, I have found stuff floating around. What is the other one that I
people drink hazy beers all the time, which is just that. It's a hazy beer is the same thing.
I think it's hazy IPAs. I think
hazy IPAs.
Milkshake.
Yeah,
I think milkshake IPAs have a lot of like stuff.
Yeah, they'll have stuff floating around it. It's okay. It's all consumable. You can eat it. You can drink it. It's fine. It's not going to take away from the. If anything, it's actually something that's adding to the beer, so it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
This one is actually super clear.
Have you smelled yours yet?
I have not smelled it yet.
Smell it. Smell it.
Smell it.
I get. Well, I'll let you say. What do you get?
Oh, I'm certainly getting the spices. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm getting the cinnamon.
Yep. So right off the bat, I got the cinnamon. I got the clove.
Yep. I
can pull out the cardamom. Cardamom, whatever.
Oh, see,
however you want to say it.
See, this shows how ignorant I am. I don't even know what the hell that is.
Smells like cardamom.
By the way, in case you don't know, I don't typically make pumpkin beers. But I do know a little bit about the process.
I can almost smell just a hint of that ancho chili spice.
Okay, so I saw that on their list of ingredients.
Yeah.
And that actually threw me off a little bit because that's not something I would think you would typically see in a pumpkin beer. Is a chili of any kind.
I've seen a couple of the pumpkin beers that they have like some like heat spice.
I think they do that to kind of add a sharpness to it, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely gives it a little bit of tack. You know, just kind of like a woohoo, wake up. So, yeah.
Shall we try it?
I should try it. Cheers. I won't go through the cheers every time, but cheers.
Cheers.
Foam mustache. Wow, that's a lot of pumpkin.
Wow, that is really good.
That's phenomenal.
So, I'm actually getting a lot of that pumpkin. Almost, I wouldn't say squash necessarily, like a squashiness from it. No. So, because that's how you.
I'm gonna flat out say pumpkin pie.
Oh, I don't know if I go. Well, now I'm getting the cinnamon on the back end, but
yeah, that cinnamon, those spices kind of take a minute to kind of all of a sudden come forward.
Yeah,
you do get a lot of like very pumpkin flavor on the very beginning and in the middle.
Yeah.
And then those spices just kind of like slowly roll in. They're like, oh, hey, yeah, we're here for the party too.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, we're also here. I would like to add though, like typically with some pumpkin beers, you'll get a lot of sweetness from it. This one is not overly sweet though, in my mind.
Yeah, the cinnamon on it.
This one, if anything, I actually get more of an earthy sort of ness from it. I mean, the cinnamon adds to it, obviously on the back end. I think that's between
the cardamom and the ancho.
Well, it might also be how they do the pumpkin, because remember, like I said, if you do actual raw pumpkin during the fermentation process, you're typically going to get that sort of that squashy, earthy sort of flavor to it. This one isn't overly like squashy or anything like a squash or anything. You do get the absolute pumpkin flavor out of it.
Oh yeah.
This one I think was done very beautifully, and it's not too sweet, probably because of the grain that they use. They use C60 and C120, which are both caramel malts. One's a little bit sweeter or maybe a little bit more caramely than the other. C60, I think you typically will get kind of a biscuity flavor out of it.
I can see that.
And then they use black malt, which is more of a roasty sort of flavor to it, and as opposed to sweetness. Because the thing is with the pumpkin beers, you don't want to go overly sweet.
Well, and I feel like with the black malt, they probably were pretty light on that. Because I don't really get a whole lot of roasty.
That might have been more.
I do get a little.
Well, that might have been more for color.
Yeah.
Because you can do
that. It is. I mean, it's not dark, but
yeah,
it's what would you call that? Like dark gold.
I would.
I'm colorblind, so this is all on you.
I'm looking at this. I mean, I'm getting a nice little amber sort of color to it. Maybe this probably isn't the most pleasing of word, but maybe like a rusty sort of amber. It's definitely a red,
rustic
sort of, yeah, like a rustic sort of look to it. But it's a great. I mean, the color is amazing. The clarity is beautiful. The flavor is great. Like I said, it's not sweet in the typical sense.
So for me, about the only sweetness that I'm getting is from the pumpkin. I can tell that there is a little bit of that pumpkin's fruit sweetness.
Yep.
Gourd sweetness.
Yeah.
Oh my gourd. And but the cinnamon. So typically you can have that like really bold fireball cinnamon.
Yeah.
And then you can have
like big red, like
sweet cinnamon.
Like big red bubblegum cinnamon.
Oh yeah.
And then you got kind of a.
And this doesn't have that. This kind of seems like it's got a mingle of, kind of that medium bold cinnamon and also a little bit of that sweet cinnamon.
So I was gonna say, are you getting into the clove? Kind of, because that's what I'm getting a lot of is a mix of the pumpkin with the clove and like a small minute cinnamon aftertaste.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I said pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Now,
well, it's just when I think pumpkin pie, I think a lot more sweetness to it. That's why I was kind of not necessarily into the pumpkin pie one. It's just because I think sweet when I think there's a
very good insight, and so I should say. Pumpkin pie without using sugar pumpkins, small pumpkins, because it's not sweet.
Yeah.
So you are getting more of a spiced pumpkin pie, as opposed to the sweet pumpkin pie that you would like go to any store and go pick up, or any like pumpkin puree.
Yeah.
Has a lot of sugar to it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have more of a sweeter pumpkin pie. This is more like I would think again, traditional German style pumpkin pie that my grandma would make.
Well, again,
where she's using like the great big pumpkins that we carved out, and she's taking the meat that we already have and boiling it and mashing it down. So the pumpkin, even though the flavor profile is there, it doesn't have the sweetness that comes with like a sugar pumpkin.
Right.
So now in defining that a little bit more,
okay, that makes sense.
Kind of see what I mean by pumpkin pie.
Yeah, no,
because it has those spices. It has that cinnamon. It has the clove. It has. I don't know if people normally put cardamom. I don't know. I'll have to ask my grandma.
But yeah, no, I mean, to me, this is one of those, it's a beautiful marriage between the subtleness of the malt, the, again, the sweetness of the cinnamon and the pumpkin, and you get a nice little earthy sort ofness from the pumpkin as well.
Right.
And so I think this is a beautifully done pumpkin ale.
I could see myself drinking that around a fire.
Yeah. Yeah, I could certainly see that as well.
Yep. Nice fall get together, just hanging out with buddies.
Nope, great gourds of fire.
Around a fire, wearing flannel.
Goodness gracious, great gourds of fire.
Great gourds of fire.
Sorry, I'm still loving the name.
Now we're flagged.
Right, I'm still loving the name, man. I'm sorry. Flag. Thanks, YouTube.
Oh, and we're fired. Well, it's been a good show. No.
Hi, censor people.
So, we're gonna keep moving along here, and we're going to talk about Dogfish Head Brewing Company and their Punkin Ale. No G. Or no, pumpkin?
Yeah, no G at the end. Just pumpkin.
Punkin.
Kind of like Harley Quinn talking about Joker. Punkin.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just nerded out. My bad.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I just...
You looked at me cross-eyed just now.
Well, I'm still thinking, I'm like, how do you spell pumpkin?
No, this one they spell it Punkin. Punkin.
Yeah. Okay, so there's no P.
There's no P and there's no
no
P.
M.
Well, pumpkin is spelled Pumpkin. This one they spell it with an N. No,
I need to go back to school. Jeez.
We're having a grammar lesson right now.
All right, so let's flip on over here to Dogfish Head and keep moving along. This one's a little bit longer one, but Dogfish Head's been around for a little bit longer, so that's to be expected. So the story of Dogfish Head began in June of 1995 when we opened Dogfish Head Brewing and Eats, the state's first brew pub in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. The plan was to bring original beer, original food, and original music to the area, and we did just that. So there's the head founders, Sam and Maria, right? Yeah, Maria.
She looks like a Maria.
Yeah, I think so. Not only was Dogfish Head's Delaware's first brew pub, it was the smallest commercial brewery in America. With our very first batches brewed on a system that was essentially 3 little kegs with propane burners beneath or underneath, we were brewing 12-gallon batches of beer for a whole restaurant. It proved to be more than a full-time job, and when the doors to the brew pub first opened, we brewed 3 times a day, 5 days a week. The benefit? Brewing on such a small system gave us the ability to try out a myriad of different recipes. Insert off-centered ales for off-centered people. Our hunger for weird ingredients and venturing off the beaten path was just getting started. Fast forward to 2002, and after spotting a stainless steel bin in a rural Delaware scrapyard, our wandering eye led us to explore the wild and wonderful world of spirits. Sam worked with engineers and welders to reshape the tank in the form of a pot still, lovingly named Frankenstill. That's freaking awesome. And Dogfish Head's days of hand distilling gin, rum, and vodka began. We've since expanded our distillery operations to our Milton campus with Frankenstill standing guard. The off-centered fun doesn't start and stop with beverages, though. Oh no. Here at Dogfish Head, we have places to eat, places to drink, and places to play. The missing link? A place to stay. That's why in 2013, we designed a base camp for both beer lovers and adventure seekers alike. The Dogfish Inn. Located in historic downtown Lewis, it's chock full of style, quality, and craft. Let's spend the night together. Ooh. I didn't know we were that close.
So, listen.
How you doing, Dogfish?
Hey, Dogfish, you're going to go ahead and light that fire for me. Break out the satin sheets.
Oh, we've already had too much beer. But before we get ahead of ourselves, we have a bit more to tell you. With connections to both the Maine and Chesapeake regions from our founders, Sam and Maria, it only makes sense that our coastal roots would lead to our very own seafood restaurant. And in 2015, we opened the geographically enamored Chesapeake and Maine. Featuring fresh seafood sourced exclusively from the namesake regions, you'll find our take on coastal dishes, handcrafted cocktails, and Dogfish beers in a casual, nautical-themed atmosphere. And just when you think there couldn't possibly be more, still motivated by non-conformity, by spontaneity, and by experimentation, Dogfish Head turned the page of our American craft beer story in May of 2019 and started our next chapter by merging with our longtime friends in beer, the Boston Beer Company.
Oh, hey, so Sam Adams.
Yeah, that's cool. With complementary portfolios and a band of like-minded coworkers, we combined our own superpowers in the beer, spirits, and off-centered experience worlds with Boston's superpowers in building strong, diverse, and innovative brands in craft beer and beyond beer. Craft beer and beyond. At every turn, our restless desire to create what hasn't yet been imagined keeps us bringing new stories, new tastes, and new experiences to you. Because we don't jump on the bandwagon, we are the funky drummer. Every day is an exploration, a thoughtful search through a crowded world. We search for that thing that makes us pause, that idea that excites us, the inspiration we can't ignore. The journey can be unexpected, but that's what makes it kind of magical. If you haven't had the chance to taste Dogfish Head, find a beer, track down one of our spirits, or visit one of our restaurants, you'll quickly see why international beer writer Michael Jackson.
Chip on it.
I don't think it's that one. Called Dogfish Head America's most interesting and adventurous small brewery.
I like to rate Dogfish Head as a hee-hee.
Woohoo! We're so getting flagged for this one. This episode is totally going to get banned.
This is how you get canceled, by the way. If you want a real step-by-step process on how to get canceled,
I already foresee us getting found and a cease and desist letter showing up.
Hey, you know what? That being okay. All jokes aside, Dogfish Head is a beautiful, beautiful brewery.
They're awesome.
They do such amazing beer. I've had so many good beers from Dogfish Head.
Oh yeah,
seriously.
Yeah, and so and this will play on what I was talking about with Hopworks. So we're just gonna push right ahead, and we're gonna talk about the Punkin Ale. Mm-hmm. But you'll see, and I'll show you. Like, as I go down, the information that they provide is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It is just, it's very full. It's very encompassing.
All
right. So, a full-bodied brown ale with smooth hints of pumpkin, brown sugar, and spice. Find this beer near you. Every beer has a story. Here's Punkin Ale. A full-bodied brown ale with smooth hints of pumpkin and brown sugar. We brew our pumpkin ale with pumpkin meat, brown sugar, and spices. As the season cools, this is the perfect beer to warm up with. Pumpkin Ale is named after the seriously off-centered Southern Delaware extravaganza Pumpkin Chunkin'. Punkin Chunkin'.
Oh yeah.
Check out some of these Discovery Channel videos of Punkin Chunkin'. You gotta see it to believe it. In fact, Punkin Ale made its debut as it claimed first prize in the 1994 Punkin Chunkin' recipe contest. Yes, that was a full 6 months before we even opened our doors for business. Since its debut, we've brewed Punkin Ale each and every fall. It is released right after September 1st each year. When you find it, grab some extra because it's usually gone before Thanksgiving. And it really is. It's like out the door.
I was about to say, I mean, you had to get a crowler of it. You couldn't even get cans or bottles out of it. Yeah.
So, and like I said, so here's the information. It has the ABVs, which is 7%, IBUs 28, release date, original release date, style, color, aroma, flavor, mouthfeel, glassware, cheese pairing, food pairing. I mean, they
did all out for it. I mean,
and that's an awesome thing. And so, Dogfish Head is a big company.
It is. It's a big company, and I mean, as you heard, I mean, listening to the description, it's not just beer. It's restaurants. It's beer,
spirits,
beer, and it's really Dogfish Head. To call it simply a brewery, I don't think it's doing it justice.
No,
because it's much more.
They're so enveloped in so much. That
I would say Dogfish Head is an experience, really. To be honest, because it's so much more than just beer. Like you said, spirits, food. I mean, from the Northeast. Mm-hmm. So you're talking New England, Maine, and what was it? Maine and New Hampshire, Maine and Vermont, Delaware, Maine and Delaware. I mean, so seafood's probably a big thing for them.
Oh yeah.
They
were talking about Chesapeake Bay.
They were talking about come and stay with us. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to.
Right, yeah.
If I was over there, I would do it.
I know, the Dogfish Head is one of Todd's, our friend. It's one of his favorite breweries.
Well, yeah.
It's up there. It's at least in the top 3.
Because they are a company, and I'm going to call them a company instead of a brewery because I think a company is more honest. Yeah. They are a company that cares more, I think, about their customers' experience than they do necessarily about really anything else. They care so much about the customer,
and that's very prevalent in how they were straightforward. They said, "Oh yeah, we partnered with the Boston Beer Company."
Yeah,
which is Sam Adams.
That's Sam Adams beer.
I mean, if you're partnering with somebody as large as Sam Adams, and I believe even to this day, Sam Adams is the largest independent craft brewer.
Yeah. Sam Adams is the largest craft brewery in the world?
I believe so.
I don't know. They are.
Don't quote us on that, but they are the largest craft brewer from the Brewers Association.
Yeah. Boston Beer Company is one of those. Okay, so a little bit of inside information. Boston Beer Company is the company that we keep changing the definition of craft brewery just so we can keep having them as a craft brewery because they are literally leading the forefront against big beer.
Right, yeah.
Against Anheuser-Busch.
They're our flag holders.
They are the general. And so the Brewers Association and craft breweries across the country are, I mean, Boston Beer Company is kind of like the that's the standard.
That's the pinnacle. That's what you want to get to.
I mean, let's be serious. The Boston Lager,
Oh yeah.
I mean, what a great beer that is. So, I mean, to pin
and so like to touch on the Boston Lager, it is a great beer. I will not deny that one iota.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
No, that's fair. That's fair. No, that's fair.
It's one of those beers, and like it's funny because like I talk about that all the time, and we've tried. I don't even know how many different beers we've tried, and that I've tried.
I don't think we've tried any from Boston Beer Company though.
No, we haven't.
No.
But yeah, like I don't know what it is about Boston Lager. Yeah. It's just it doesn't hit my flavor palate it doesn't hit my palate right.
I think Boston Lager was Boston Beer Company's attempt to take on Budweiser.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it.
It's still it's a solid beer.
If you gave me the choice between a Budweiser
and a Boston Lager,
which
one would you take?
Oh, I'm going Boston Lager all the time.
Yeah, but it's not your favorite beer. I mean,
no. I mean, even style of beer, like it's just not. Yeah. It's not in my top 10.
Yeah. I mean, we could go down the road of Boston Beer Company and their history and everything, but I mean, the fact that Dogfish had teamed up with them.
Yeah, that's just freaking awesome.
Is phenomenal. I'm not going to lie.
So, all right, well, let's sniff this thing. That didn't sound wrong at all. So I'm getting more of a pumpkin spice smell.
Yeah.
I'm getting cinnamon.
I'm getting more, that kind of spiciness, sweetness to it.
I'm getting a nutmeg kind of smell. I'm definitely getting a little bit more on pushing towards a sugar pumpkin smell.
Yeah.
It does smell slightly sweeter.
Yeah.
That could be the type of cinnamon that they used as well. Yeah.
By the way, this actually had some decent head to it, but I had some issues with the crowler that you guys didn't see.
Oh, you screwed up the head.
I know. Are you kidding me? I got beer all over my freaking phone over here.
Just having issues.
I'm just having all
Couldn't be because we've already had 2 beers.
It's all good.
But yeah, that's smelling pretty.
And
then there's there's the color on that.
Very clear, kind of more of a goldish.
There you go.
A reddish goldish, very clear actually. Very, very clear.
Stop focusing on my face. There we go.
A very good kind of reddish, goldish sort of color to it.
Yeah, and I won't show you what these glasses are from because they're not from Dogfish Head.
No. That's okay.
Don't worry about it.
It's okay. The carbonation is beautiful. You can actually see the bubbles rising through it to the top, so it's got a pretty high carbonation.
From the bottom, I can actually see it literally coming straight up.
Exactly.
Rising very quickly.
So,
all right.
Let's try it, sir.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's take a drink. Ooh. I'm getting more of a pumpkin pie spice.
Yeah, this is less earthy, more sweet.
This is so I'm going to try and explain this without sounding negative.
Yeah.
It does taste more commercialized.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if I picked up a can of this week and I picked up a can of that 2 weeks from now,
yeah,
it would taste exactly the same.
I agree.
So, not a negative thing. That is a very, very good thing. Actually, that means that they can repeat repetitively.
They're consistent.
They're consistent. There we go. Thanks.
They are consistent, which, by the way,
words.
If you ask anyone in the brewing industry, the hardest thing for any brewery to do is brew with consistency.
Yep.
It's kind of like, in many ways, brewing is, in that sense, is kind of like cooking. It's very hard to do it with any real consistency. And if you can find a brewery that can do something consistently, now that I've said that 4 times, it will be on the spelling test.
You've said it consistently?
I've said it consistently. If you can find a brewery that can do that over and over and over again and brew a beer in March and then you open it in June, you know, you get a bottle or a can of it and you open up in June, and it's going to taste the exact same as if you would open it up in March. That to me is an indicator of a damn good brewery. And this is, this just proves that Dogfish Head is a damn good brewery.
Yeah, you can definitely taste the level that they're at in their brewing status.
I think, do you get the impression they went heavier on the cinnamon on this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting more of the cinnamon.
Yeah,
I'm
not definitely getting more cinnamon and.
I am getting pumpkin, but I'm getting a sweet sort of pumpkin.
Yep.
That kind of tells me it didn't necessarily come from maybe a raw pumpkin.
Yeah. Yeah, the one from Hopworks, I would be shocked if it didn't come from raw pumpkin.
No, that one.
The one from Dogfish Head.
I would be shocked if it did.
I wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to 100% because it does have some earthy qualities from it, but I can't tell if it's from the I can't tell if it's from the hops. I can't tell if it's from the spices. I can't tell if it's from the pumpkin.
Yeah. I mean, does it say what kind of hops they used on this one?
Maybe. Nope.
No, it does not. Okay.
Nope.
Everyone's got their trade secrets.
Exactly. And with a company this big, I mean, that's not surprising.
No, that's not surprising at all. No, don't get me wrong. This is also a very...
But it does have flavor profile. Flavor profile says spicy notes of cinnamon, brown sugar, and pumpkin.
Oh, that's right. They use brown sugar. That's probably the sweetness to it is the brown sugar.
Yeah. So it very well could be a natural pumpkin or natural pumpkins that they're using. But because of that brown sugar, or depending on the level of the brown sugar that they're using.
See, this one to me. So whereas Hopworks was, I think, going for more a natural pumpkin flavor.
Yeah.
I get the impression that Dogfish Head was going for more maybe like a pumpkin pie sort of flavor, because I'm getting more of the pumpkin pie flavor from Dogfish Head than I am from Hopworks.
Yeah.
So
now with this one, I could see myself taking this one to a party.
Yes, this one if I had like a growler or actually, you know what? I would like a fall party, getting like a pony keg.
Yeah.
Or a 6-barrel, taking that to a party and hooking it up. Like I would do that.
Yeah. Just
it's
because of how
it's a little bit darker too.
Like how solid it is.
Yeah, it's a very
in its flavor profile.
It's very solid, whereas with Hopworks, I would want to sit back one-on-one and just enjoy it. This one, I would certainly want to share more.
Yeah, the Hopworks ones, I feel like I nailed that one on the head, where, like, you would want more of an intimate setting.
Yeah.
You're not taking it to the bedroom.
Sitting by the fire.
But, like, sitting by the fire
reading
with
a book.
maybe a couple of buddies and just, relaxing. You're not in any kind of festive or... upward kind of thing.
Exactly. I agree. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask the $100 question.
Oh God,
you ready for this?
I don't know if I have $100.
So here's the $100 question: if you had to choose between Hopworks and Dogfish Head Punkin Ales, which one would you go with?
Hopworks.
Yeah.
No question. And it's not to dilute Dogfish Head's beer at all. It's just so in how we explained where we would have Dogfish Heads, where we would have Hopworks, where we would even have Oktoberfest. So we'll just take the Oktoberfest out, because it's not a pumpkin ale to pumpkin ale.
Yeah.
I don't typically go to a lot of parties.
Right.
I don't even go to a lot of Halloween parties, anything like that, fall parties, anything. But I personally, I enjoy sitting around a fire with friends and family and stuff like that and relaxing and just BSing and reminiscing about the past and just having a very intimate, warming conversation and time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would see myself, I would probably go through, in all honesty, 2-3 of these in the course of probably hours, just because I can't shut up for one, and neither can my family. So yeah, I could see myself enjoying that amongst family. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
We're already an hour and 18 minutes in.
Yeah, and we
19?
still got...
I don't know. We got an hour plus.
And we still got another beer to go.
Yeah.
This is going to be a long episode, folks.
Yep.
See, for me, I'm a little different.
Okay, you're in for in for the long haul if you're still here.
See, for me, I'm a little different. I'm actually leaning towards Dogfish Head on this one. I don't get me wrong. I fully love and respect Hopworks, but it's like you said, it depends on the situation and the scenario.
Right.
If I was by myself at home and I'm just kind of relaxing on the weekend or something like that, maybe I went out, did some stuff, and came back, and I just want to kind of chill at home and watch Hocus Pocus.
Oh, God. The old one, right?
The old one, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The original Hocus Pocus with Bette Midler, you know?
Oh, yeah.
If I wanted
Good old Bette.
If I wanted to sit back and just kind of watch that and enjoy some Punkin Ale, I would go with Hopworks. But I'm, I'm kind of a social butterfly.
You don't say.
I'm kind of a social person. I like to get out. I like to talk to friends and hang out with buddies. And so for me, Dogfish Head is kind of where I'm going.
Don't worry, it's just a plane going over
It's all good. But yeah, so I'm kind of digging on the Dogfish Head right now, personally. And I don't get me wrong, I love the Hopworks. It's just for me, socializing and trying to be the social person that I am, I would probably go with Dogfish Head.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the cool thing. Because, I mean, literally, it's like you said, we're complete opposites in the reason.
Yeah.
I still think that Dogfish Head is a phenomenal beer. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I would enjoy that multiple times.
Oh yeah, no. So like to me,
if somebody got that for me every year, I'd be ecstatic. I'd be like, oh yeah, man, freaking! I hope it's as good, and I'm sure it will be as good as last year's. Crack it open, let's do this.
You know, like that's the thing too. Is so we were talking earlier about the Oktoberfest and how I would get a pitcher of the Oktoberfest beer.
Yeah.
I would do that with the Dogfish Head.
Yeah, and I could see that, and it's because I could very well see that being in a party, or a party style, kind of get together where, like you were saying, keg, cans.
Yeah, like that's the thing. The Hopworks, I would not get Hopworks. That's how you can tell the difference, in my opinion, between a social beer and an intimate beer.
Right.
A social beer is one that's like, could you see yourself ordering this at a bar in a pitcher?
Yep.
That you can share with multiple people. If the answer is yes, it's a social beer. If you're like, nah, this is something that I would have one pint of, or I would have one of, I would sit back, I'd take my time, I would savor it, then that is an intimate beer. And to me, Hopworks is an intimate beer. The Oktoberfest and the Dogfish Head are very much, in my opinion, social beers.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100% agree with you.
Well, we got one more beer.
We do. And
this one's a doozy. This one is a night ender for us, at least. I haven't even finished my other three.
So, finished more than I have.
I've been milking them.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you usually stay here for a while.
Right.
So this next beer coming up, it has a lot to it. It's one of the reasons that we wanted to kind of focus on it last. The other reason is because of what style of beer it is. Brandon, you want to read what kind of style of beer it is?
This beer is
it's a stout, isn't it?
Yep, it is a pastry stout with banana, cacao, not cocoa, cacao, maple, and vanilla.
Yeah. So
this is gonna be a heavy one, folks.
Oh man, and that's exactly it. So this is our heavy hitter to end the night, to kind of wrap everything up and all that. And also there is a lot to read. Not so much about the brewery. And the brewery is Mason. What is it? Mason Ale Works?
Yeah.
Mason Ale Works.
Mason Ale Works.
So the brewery is Mason Ale Works, and they have a pretty short overview. But in the overview and the descriptions, that's not only on the can but also on their website, is slightly lengthy. So let's get into it.
You want to hand me the glasses?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, the reason we're ending on this one, by the way, is because I'm just going to give you guys a heads up. This is a 13.5% ABV.
Right. That, and it's a stout.
And it's a stout, so it's heavier.
Right. So typically, if you're drinking different styles or if you're trying different styles of beer, like when you have a taster, if you go to, oh, God. it's getting crazy. So like if you go to a tap room or a bar or anything like that, and you say, oh, you know, I want to have a taster. I would like a lager. I'd like a Pilsner. I'd like an amber. I'd like an IPA. I'd like a stout. And I'd like a porter, right?
Yeah.
They're going to go from lightest, and that's not lightest in ABV. What that means is lightest in typically color, correct?
Lightest in color and lightest in flavor.
Right, lightest in flavor, and sometimes lightest in ABV. But ABV doesn't 100% make up what lightest means. This is a porter. No, stout.
This is a stout.
Sorry, stout.
Let's say
So
pastry stout.
your
it's
stouts
heavy.
and porters are usually on the very end because they're dark. They're usually robust. They have a lot of very heavy flavors to them, and on top of that, they're delicious.
They're very good. They sometimes, yes, their ABVs might be high. Sometimes stouts can actually have a relatively low ABV.
Yeah.
So it's not about the ABV. It's more about the flavor profile. Stouts tend to be much more pound when it comes to coffee flavors, roasted flavors, smoky flavors. And it's also the same reason why you would typically find an IPA on the back end of a taster, because IPAs tend to be more bitter, which tends to stick around on your taste buds longer.
Right.
And so that's why
and a big part of that also is like the mouthfeel.
Exactly.
So like when we talk about mouthfeel, which we haven't talked much about mouthfeel in the last 3 beers, mostly because they've all been pretty similar.
Very similar. Relatively crispy a little, and then they kind of smoothed out as we went along.
Yeah.
They started out very crispy. We talked about the Oktoberfest kind of being a little bit sharper.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, went back a little bit. But stouts tend to be much smoother.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they can be very coating. So if you have a stout before you have a lager,
you're ruining the lager.
Stout is going to stick around for so long that it's going to influence the flavor profiles of the lager.
That's why you always want
Correct?
to go. Yes, absolutely. Right. That's why you always want to start, like I said, lightest to darkest. And typically that does work with color. Mm-hmm. It's not always true, but it typically works with color.
Yeah.
You start to get a little weird when you start to get around the reds and the IPAs.
Yeah.
That's when it starts to get a little bit different. You might want to do an IPA after an amber ale, for instance. But you might want to do the IPA before a Scotch ale.
Yeah.
So
which I have a Scotch ale coming up.
Which
Black Raven.
It's all a little different. But stouts, typically, that is your darkest, that is your smoothest, and that is your most flavor as far as like malt is concerned.
Right.
So,
all right, let's get into this. All right. Whoops. What did I do? I don't know. Production Brewery. Our flagship Mason Ale Works location opened in 2017 at our San Marcos Urge? U-R-G-E? Urge Common House?
yes.
Something like that. Location. Here, JJ Sweet Meat something.
Jimenez.
That one. Our Director of Brewing Operations helms the wheel. All of our can releases, like our popular Jambi West Coast IPA and Respeto Mexican lager, we really shouldn't have done this one last. Are brewed and canned in these 4 walls. We also crank out an extensive lineup of one-off releases out of here. Follow us on Instagram to see what's coming up next. Our production facility produces almost 6,000 barrels of beer that we ship to 8 states and several international destinations.
So just to put that in perspective, by the way, I know like we saw with Hopworks, they said that they distributed 10,000 barrels per year.
Right.
So for those that don't understand, a barrel is approximately 32 gallons is 1 barrel. So like, let's put it this way. When you get a keg is actually a half barrel of beer. So it's about 15 and a half. It's about 15 and a half gallons. A pony keg is half of that. I think it's roughly around 7 to 5.
Yeah, you said 32?
Yeah.
So 32 times 6,000 is 192,000.
192,000 gallons of beer. So just so we're putting this all in perspective. So when you're looking at, like, for instance, what was it? Hopworks, it said 10,000 barrels. So 10,000 times 32 is 320,000.
Right.
So,
yeah,
you know, I mean, just to put that in perspective, whenever you're talking about, you know, because breweries always work in barrels. So when you're talking however many thousands of barrels or hundreds of barrels that someone distributes, it's basically, think of two of your typical kegs make up one barrel.
Right. So for this one, it's called Children of Loki. And unfortunately, we couldn't find it. We're pretty sure that this was a limited release beer.
Probably, yeah.
From Mason Ale Works. So we just popped on over to Untapped again. And Untapped says it is a 13.5% ABV, no IBUs listed. What do a snake, a wolf, and a death goddess all have in common? They're all the children of the trickster god Loki. What do banana, cacao, maple syrup, vanilla, small batch coffee, and 13.5% ABV all have in common? They're all a part of this thick banana pancake inspired pastry stout.
That's triple C. That's thick.
That's thick with
that's thick.
3 C's.
She be thick.
She's thick. While the children of Loki may not have gotten along so well, the different adjuncts in this stout meld together into a reminder of early mornings, stacks of pancakes covered in maple syrup, and banana and warm coffee or cups of coffee. Yeah. So, oh man, I cannot.
And by the way, the can art on this, the label art that they have for this.
Did you show it?
I showed it, but you can't really see it because it's a very dark. I mean, the label itself is very black, but if you look on it, you can kind of see the crescent moon in the background, and in front there is a wolf. And then across the top and along the sides in the upper corners, you can see a snake. And then at the very bottom, you'll probably see like 2 bright lights. Those are the hands of the woman, of the daughter of Loki. So it has all 3 children of Loki on the can art, and it is glorious. And it actually gives a description of each child.
Right.
And everything from Norse mythology.
Yeah, it has a description of Hel, a description of Jorman Gander, and a description of Fenrir. And I will read those for you. So Hel is the daughter of Loki. Ruler of the realm that bears her name, Hel was believed to be a death goddess. To go to Hel was to die, specifically off the battlefield of illness or old age. The Norse believed that all those who died off the glorious field of war would be denied entry to Odin's great feasting halls of Valhalla, and would instead freeze for all eternity in Hell. So unlike the Christian hell where you
hot,
think burn in hell,
brimstone,
right? The Norse mythology, which I know a little bit about, is cold.
Yeah,
it's think
tundra.
Loki was the child of frost giants.
Okay, yeah.
So you figure his daughter, who's Hel, is not going to be in a very warm spot.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
So. And then Jormungandr, son of Loki. Believed to be a truly colossal snake, Jormungandr, literally enormous monster, lived in the great ocean that was believed to encircle Midgard. The Norse word for the world of mortals, and the middle of the 9 realms. This is where Tolkien got Middle Earth from. The snake, so the Norse believe, held the earth in place by wrapping himself all the way around with its tail in its mouth. And when Jormungandr eventually let go, the world would end. What is that? Ragnarok.
Yeah, Ragnarok.
Also in Norse mythology, I think Thor battled Jormungandr.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
They all hated each other.
Norse gods did not like each other, but then again, neither did Greek gods or Roman gods.
I don't think any of the gods liked each other.
Any religion that involves a shit ton of gods, they don't like each other.
Everybody hates each other. What's family without some hate?
All right.
So Fenrir is the son of Loki. Just as Jormungandr is a giant snake, Fenrir is a giant wolf terrified of what Fenrir might be able to do if left unchecked. The gods decided to bind the great wolf, but found that he broke every rope and chain used. In the end, the dwarves fashioned a magical, unbreakable ribbon called Gleipnir, I think.
Don't look at me, man.
Yeah, I know.
I don't speak.
It's really
Norse.
small print. Sorry. Made from the sound of cat's footfall. Sure. The beard of a woman, the spit of a bird, the breath of a fish, the roots of a mountain, and the nervousness of a bear. The reason none of these 6 things exist, according to Norse mythology, is that they all went into the making of Gleipnir. Wow.
Wow. That is some research right there, my friend. And
Yeah.
all that on a beer can.
Right? Yeah, I mean, it's tiny print, but yeah, that's
Still,
that's
that's
friggin' awesome.
That is so cool.
So now you can all see why I bought it, because obviously I love the hell out of Norse mythology, which is my background. I'm very, very much Scandinavian.
Oh yeah. I mean, like that's the thing is like I mean, mine is more Bavarian, but my background's a little bit more Bavarian, a little bit more German, but at the same point though, it's like any type of mythology along the line, especially like Norse mythology, it's just so interesting and so fun.
And I mean, Norse mythology, like Greek mythology, there's just so much thought into the storytelling, and like every character has such a vast background to it, and even like the tools and all this stuff. I mean, it's awesome.
I'll tell you this much: Loki got some messed up kids, man.
Well, yeah.
Loki got some messed up kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Loki.
We're just gonna drop it right there because I could go on forever.
I'm
about
sure.
that.
But let's go ahead. Let's smell it.
Yep. Oh wow!
Whoa!
Thank God this is the last one.
Oh my God!
So
I am
sugar sweet is what I'm getting first.
I'm getting vanilla.
Yeah.
I'm getting the cacao.
Yep.
And I'm getting coffee. Are you getting coffee?
I gotta inhale pretty deep, but I do kind of see where you're coming from.
I am
with
100% though getting vanilla on this.
Oh
beer.
yeah, I mean that's very, very vanilla, very cacao,
super sweet.
Oh yeah,
This is gonna be delicious. It's gonna be dangerous.
And I'll try and show you without showing too much of where this glass is from. There is quite a bit of sediment in this.
We'll show this one because this one is from Norms, and we talked about Norms earlier.
Yeah, we talked about Norms. So yeah, there's the logo. Come on, block. Do it. There we go.
There we go.
But yeah, if I turn this, you can see there is quite a bit of sediment. Like it doesn't even have to be in focus. You can see how much sediment is in this one. That's probably the cacao, I would assume.
Yeah, this is definitely a dark beer.
Oh yeah. I can pull the roasted smells out of it.
I'm sorry. I'm getting right now the biggest one is the vanilla and the cacao because you're getting the sweetness from the vanilla and the cocoa or the cacao kind of together. But on the back end I am getting a roasty coffee sort of smell, like an espresso.
And I'm wondering if I'm getting that too. I don't know what it is, but somewhere in there, I keep getting like hint smells of like black licorice. I don't know.
That's not me. That's what. I'm not getting the black licorice, and
I think it might be a mixture between the vanilla and the cacao and like those roasty tones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
You know what?
But
there is one way to tell.
Yeah. Try it.
Let's taste it.
All right.
Cheers, sir. Cheers, everyone. Salut. Oh, wow. That's dangerous.
Wow.
That's dangerous.
Where is that going? Wow.
That is dangerous. That is sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That is very sweet. I am definitely getting the sweetness of the cacao. I mean, the cacao punched me in the face. Did you get that?
Oh, yeah.
I got
both the cacao and the vanilla.
Just punched me in the face. I mean, Mike Tyson, Encyclopedia Britannica, punched me in the face now.
So now the roasted kind of coffee that you were talking about, the espresso kind of flavor profile.
Yeah, I'm getting that.
I get that blended with the stout.
On the back end, yeah.
Yep. And was this barrel aged? I think it was.
I didn't see anything on it barrel aged.
Nope.
It wouldn't be. I wouldn't be shocked if it was
pastry.
Okay.
So
that's
kind of what I think I'm getting.
So pastry stout, you're gonna get a sweeter, biscuity sort of flavor from it. I don't know what the.
Oh God, that's a sipper.
Yeah, that is. This is definitely something to take time with. This is what I would consider a dessert beer, folks.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of those you pour yourself a pint, you sit back, you have one, sipping on it, and then you go to bed.
Yeah. So, and like they said, stacks of pancakes. I can see that. Maple syrup.
Get that.
I can definitely see that. Banana. I did taste some banana in this. I didn't smell it. I tasted it.
I did taste the banana a little bit, but I think the banana is overtaken a bit by the
It's
cacao
very,
and
very
the vanilla.
overshadowed by the maple syrup and the sugar and stuff like that. And then they say warm cups of coffee. Which, obviously, you said
I'm picking up on the coffee.
Smelled it and you tasted it.
Yeah, I'm picking up.
Excuse me. And yeah, I'm getting that too. For me, I'm still getting it in that that stout kind of robust, roasty.
You know what? Okay, I know this is going to sound really weird because cinnamon is not an ingredient in this, but you know what I'm getting from this? It's kind of like eating a cinnamon roll while drinking a cup of coffee. Is kind of what I'm getting from this.
I can see it.
Because you're getting kind of that vanilla sort of flavor for that you would get from like frosting.
Yeah.
And then you're also getting kind of the biscuitiness and the breadiness that you would get from the cinnamon roll.
Yeah,
and
there's definitely a bready, biscuity kind of something
and then
that's there.
And then I'm getting the roasty coffee on the back end. Like you have just a cup of black coffee to finish it off with.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I'm picturing when I'm drinking this.
I'm almost wondering if it isn't the stout that's mixing with the sweetness.
Oh, that 100%.
But I'm still getting a black licorice.
Oh, I am not getting black licorice at all.
I think what it is between the maple syrup and the or the maple syrup taste, and then the cacao and the stout. Which stouts typically kind of take on that kind of coffee or roasted.
Yeah, stouts have a very dark profile. They typically, you're talking roasted coffee, black coffee, smokiness, maybe even chocolatiness.
Yeah.
Actually, certainly chocolatiness, maybe dark chocolatiness.
It's definitely thick.
Yeah.
It's definitely thick.
Very thick.
So
you're definitely...
They weren't joking on that one.
They weren't joking on the thickness. No, that is definitely... Oh, that is a night ender right there. That's not one. I'm not gonna lie. That's not one I would have more than one of, because that right there. I mean, we're
sharing it.
Yeah, we're sharing this one can.
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
That's don't get me wrong.
Long night. It's
don't get me wrong.
11 o'clock right now, and we have.
Hey,
well, you still only have 2.5 beers. I got.
I got about 1.5.
1.5 beer. I have 2.5.
No, this
2
is
3/4.
This is one right here that honestly, this is a great beer though. God, it's good. It is to me. It is This is why I love stouts.
Yeah,
because literally whatever the brewer is going for, whatever story they're trying to tell, whatever expression they're trying to get out of you, 9 times out of 10 with a stout, they're hitting it on the head.
Oh, yeah.
And this is exactly what they explained. It's exactly what you expected when you read it. It is. It's glorious. It's sweet.
And
very
if you tried,
sweet.
You wouldn't have to try very hard. If you tried to associate it with Hel, the daughter of Loki, that's where those dark, roasted profiles come in, that coffee flavor,
Yeah.
Heavy maple syrup, maybe even, like a dark maple syrup.
Yeah.
And then you have Jorman Gander, which encompasses the earth.
Yeah.
And you have the round biscuity kind of flavor that kind of just everything just is encompassed, is enveloped in the whole thing. And you have Fenrir that tries to, kind of keep everything in check.
Yep.
And that's, I think, where that like banana profile kind of comes out, and those sugar profiles come out, and just that like associated with the maple syrup, and just like everything is trying to be compact in the whole thing. I think Fenrir would have been another really good name for this beer. Yeah. Because it just compacts all of those things into one thing. Yeah. So, phenomenal job.
The only thing I can honestly sit there and say that I kind of disagree. Now, I understand. I'm just a patron. Right. I'm just a consumer. I am not the creator of this beer. But the only thing I would disagree with the brewers on in this is the banana profile. Really? I am not getting banana at all. I think it's
try mine.
Maybe,
Because, I mean, we've done that before where we've had to swap glasses and we've gotten different profiles because of different glasses.
This is bullshit. Because now I'm getting banana. See? This is bullshit.
Apparently, we just need to put our cans
now I'm getting the sweetness
into like a paint mixer
and stir it up a little bit,
and just watch it explode.
Because I'll bet you money that banana is from the yeast.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't 100%
the banana's from the yeast. Because yours is actually sweeter than mine. Yep. Mine is more roasty and more coffee flavored. Yours is definitely more sweeter. Yeah. I'm getting more of the banana, more of the vanilla. Yeah. And more of, and
I think that's probably why I'm getting those really strange, like, it's not through the whole thing, but it's just every now and then I get those strange hits of like black licorice.
And that's possible.
Because it's that bitter with sweet. Yeah.
That is a great beer though. Like I said, I personally, I don't know about you, I would have one to end my night. I would basically, this is one of those with nothing. I wouldn't pair it with anything because if you added any dessert to it, it would be too sweet. Yeah. If you added anything,
it'd ruin the dessert, it'd ruin the beer.
It would ruin the dinner.
And exactly, if you had it with, food, savory items, it would ruin the dinner, or it would ruin the meal, and it would ruin the beer.
But Mason Ale Works, I mean, you guys probably aren't watching this, but Mason Ale Works, holy cow.
Which you should.
I mean, I don't know who your head brewer is or who wrote this recipe. You are a god. Just saying.
Dare say a trickster god?
Oh. No, this is a beautiful marriage.
Oh, yeah.
Different flavors and aromas of sweetness and roastiness and coffeeness. Like, this is so beautifully done. It's weird because usually when you see that mixture of flavors, like you see the vanilla, you see the cacao, and even the banana, you would think overly sweet. And this is very, very sweet. I'm not going to lie. This is very sweet.
It's a dessert beer. It's very obviously a dessert beer.
But it goes so well with the roastiness of the coffee. Right. In my opinion, at least. And, with cacao tends to be a little bit darker, a little bit more coffee-esque. Right. So it just, the marriage between those flavors, the spices alone and everything. And then obviously the malt obviously went dark and creamy with the malt. Very good job. I'm guessing dark chocolate malt and maybe even some black malt and some maybe some caramel malt. Not so much. But it's just beautifully done. Beautifully done.
Absolutely. Which we're coming up real quick to 2 hours. So
we should probably end it.
We are definitely going to end it.
Yeah, this is a long episode. By the way, we're not doing any more 2 hour long episodes. We got a little over anxious tonight.
Well, you never know.
You never know. That's true.
We'll try and keep it to an hour, but we like to talk, and we did what, 5 beers? 4?
We did 4 beers.
Okay, whatever. I can't count. There's too many cans here.
Guys,
we split too many beers.
Guys, we're buzzed.
Yeah, I'll use that as an excuse.
We've got
sure.
more beer to drink. We're calling it a night. Like and subscribe.
We love you guys. Like, subscribe. Stay safe out there. Please, please go support your independent craft brewers. And we will see you guys for the next episode of the Taproom Table, a brew log production. And I'm going to try and go finish these. Love you guys.
Peace out.
See you later.